Right then, let's get into it because the Celtic news this Tuesday is coming thick and fast, and there's loads for us to break down. From new kit teasers to stadium visits soaked in history transfer whispers, turning into roars and some pretty wild rumors doing the rounds. We're covering it all. So if you're a proper Celtic dafty like me, settle in because this one's got a bit of everything. Let's start with that teaser. The club dropped yesterday. A wee post that on the surface looked like it had something to do with pool. Aye, the sport with cues and chalk and bays, but of course anyone who's been paying attention knew right away it was a cheeky way of unveiling the new away kit. You might have seen the number 7 ball being the centerpiece of it all, and if that doesn't scream Henrik Larsson, then I don't know what does. Word is the King of Kings himself, along with snooker legend John Higgins and a few current players, were part of the photo shoot down at McCool's in the city center. That place apparently shut down for a while in May for maintenance. Aye, right. Now we know it was likely full of Celtic legends and photographers prepping this big reveal. Now, unless you're watching this the second it drops, shout out to the diehards who are here at 7 in the morning, by the way. The kit's probably already out on the club socials. Go check it if you've not yet. But spoiler alert, it's the same one we saw leaked months ago with Jota wearing RT. So while it's not exactly a surprise, it's still class to see the club leaning into the heritage mixing legends with the present squad keeping their identity strong. Speaking of legends and heritage, let's talk about what went down yesterday in Lisbon. The current Celtic squad made a visit to Estadio Nacional, the sacred ground, where the boys lifted the European Cup in 1967. Honestly, I don't care how biased I sound. That moment Billy McNeil raising that trophy still gives me goosebumps. Easily one of the most iconic scenes in all of sport, and I'll argue that with anyone. It's not just nostalgia, it's history. It's what makes Celtic Celtic. As I mentioned before, the team's been training out in Lisbon, and their base is right next to that legendary ground. It was always part of the plan to take the players there, let them breathe in that legacy. And they did just that, got out. On the pitch, stood in the exact spot where the immortal captain held the cup aloft. It's a rite of passage, especially for the new lads, and you can bet Brendan Rodgers made sure they understood what that place means. The club even dropped some photos on Facebook. Yeah, I know it feels like your auntie's favorite app, but still the snaps were brilliant. You can see the full group there gives a wee glimpse into who's out in Portugal just now. Paulo. Bernardo's in the mix training in his hometown, which must be a mad feeling for the lad. Word is it was his first proper session back. Cameron Carter-Vickers is there as well, though we've already heard he won't feature against Sporting midweek. No sign yet of Alistair Johnston or Lewis Palmer as of yesterday, but the buzz is they'll be linking back up with the squad once they're back in Scotland. Right, let's pivot to the transfer scene, because as always, that's where the madness is. And we'll start with the name that's been bubbling up over the past week, Shun Yamada. Now I've been keeping tabs on the Japanese press, Spinichi Sports, which is basically the big kahuna when it comes to sports media over there. And they've finally dropped a piece on the lad. Japan's playing later today against South Korea in the final match of the East Asian Championship, and Yamada's expected to feature. It's a winner-takes-all situation since both sides have won their previous matches, so there's a bit of spice in it. Spinichi didn't have any direct quotes from Yamada about Celtic, but they didn't mince words either. They straight up said his move to Celtic is certain and will be sorted once this match is done. So for anyone still sitting on the fence thinking, this is just another rumor from the other side of the world, it's happening. Like, this is as close to official as you can get without the club tweeting a picture of him holding up the shirt at Lennoxtown. Now once he arrives, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the squad. He'll be joining the forward department with Adam Ida Kalamawusu and Johnny Kenny. And let's be honest, Kenny's probably off later this month, so Yamada stepping in seems perfectly timed. Kalamawusu's been showing flashes. He's quick, got decent movement, made some decent runs in the preseason matches. But he's still raw. There's been a few heavy touches, couple of plays breaking down when the ball came to him. But you can tell the coaching staff sees something in him. I doubt he's going out on loan. Feels like he's going to be the third choice striker behind Ida and Yamada unless another forward gets brought in. And I do think that's on the cards. It still doesn't feel like the final piece of the puzzle up front's been signed. Could be wrong, but the way the club's moving, I'd not be shocked if another attacker lands before the window shuts. Now onto the next rumor, and this one's a bit mad. Odsonne Edouard. Aye, seriously. A French journalist tweeted at Crystal, Palace have put him on the market, and that Celtic are monitoring the situation with Brendan Rodgers supposedly considering a reunion. Look, I had to do my homework on this guy. Turns out he's a Real Journal co-founder and editor of a French sports paper, apparently based in London now. But let's be real here. Just because he's legit doesn't mean the rumor is. These guys toss out 10 names, and if one sticks, they claim victory. Now The Athletic also chimed in saying Edouard and a couple of other Palace players aren't part of the club's plans anymore. So he's probably leaving London. But coming back to Celtic, I'd be absolutely stunned. This just doesn't feel like the kind of move that's actually going to happen. Rodgers or no Rodgers, I can't see us bringing him back. And I know that might disappoint some folk and relieve others. Edward's always been a polarizing figure. Some fans adored him, others still haven't forgiven him for how his last season went. But honestly, it's a moot point. I don't see this one happening, and it's probably not worth losing sleep over. Now, here's a name you maybe haven't heard yet. Flavio Nazinho. This came out of the Belgian press, HLN to be specific, and it's an intriguing one. He's a Portuguese left back currently playing for Cercle Brugge, who he joined permanently last season after a loan spell from Sporting. He's also a regular for Portugal's under-21s and featured prominently in the Euros this summer. That puts him right in Paulo Bernardo's generation, which is an interesting link. According to the report, Nazinho is high on Celtic's wish list following Greg Taylor's departure to PAOK Salonika. The Belgian outlet reckons he could be brought in as the backup, or perhaps more accurately, the rotation option for Kieran Tierney. And honestly, it makes sense. He fits the mold or the type of player Celtic like to bring in. Young, promising, technically solid, with international experience at youth level. Feels similar to the signing of Alexandro Bernabé, although we all know that one didn't quite pan out. What really makes this intriguing is Brendan Rodgers' recent comments about Tierney. He's spoken publicly about the need to manage Kieran's minutes to not be too emotional with him. And he's right, you can't just chuck Tierney into every match and expect him to go full throttle twice a week all season long. So this left back role is going to be crucial. Whoever comes in is going to play a lot of games. I think we'll see proper rotation there. European nights for Tierney, maybe the odd big domestic clash, but plenty of starts for whoever's brought in to complement him. And Nazinho could be that guy. By the way, and this is probably not the most important bit, but his name ends in Inho. And I'm sorry, but that just sounds class on a Celtic team sheet. You're telling me you wouldn't love to see Nazinho lined up with Bernardo and Yamada? Feels like we're building a wee continental flair again. Anyway, back to the footballing side. Nazinho seems like a solid fit. He's pacey, he's attacking, he's coming off a strong tournament, and the fact that this is coming from Belgium, where he's currently playing, adds credibility to the rumor. This isn't some vague link from nowhere. There's clearly something brewing here. Right, let's pick up where we left off, because this window's far from done, and there's still plenty to chew over when it comes to Celtic's plans for the season. With friendlies underway, players returning from breaks, and some still yet to link up with a squad, Brendan Rodgers has got a balancing act on his hands. And if the names being floated about are anything to go by, the recruitment team's been busy behind the scenes. One thing that stands out about this preseason is how deliberately Celtic are mixing the past with the present. From the new away kit with Lawson symbolism to the visit to Estadio Nacional, there's been a very conscious effort to remind the players and fans of the club's roots. Rodgers isn't just preparing this team tactically, he's trying to re-establish that sense of identity that maybe drifted a bit last season. It's more than just match fitness. It's about tapping into the legacy that's made Celtic what it is. And when you think about that trip to Lisbon, it's more than just a symbolic gesture. For younger players like Callum Owusu or the new lads like Yamada, who's not here just yet, but will be that walk onto the Estadio pitch, is a proper moment. You're standing where Billy McNeil stood. You're looking at the same stands that roared on the Lions. That does something to you. It sets a standard. It says this is what this club expects. This is where this club belongs. And for Brendan, it's the perfect message to send before the real stuff kicks off. Now back to Yamada for a sec. Because once that E1 tournament wraps up, things are expected to move quickly. It's not just speculation anymore. When the big Japanese outlets start saying something's a done deal, it's usually because the paperwork's already sitting in a drawer waiting on a signature. The plan, apparently, is for Yamada to fly straight to Glasgow post-match, undergo his medical and get registered before the team's back from Portugal. No faffing about. The real question is, what kind of impact he'll make? From what we've seen and what the analysts have been saying, he's a high-energy, aggressive forward who loves pressing from the front and dragging defenders out of position. He's not a like-for-like replacement for Kyogo, but there are some similarities. Quick feet, intelligent runs, not afraid to have a go. And maybe just as importantly, he's got the right mindset. You can tell when a player's hungry to make a name for himself, and Yamada's giving off that energy already. As for the rest of the attacking department, there's definitely a feeling that the jigsaw is not quite finished. Adam Ida, for instance, has had a solid enough start to preseason. He's been involved, looked sharp at times, but you still get the sense that Rodgers wants more variety up front. Owusu, as mentioned before, has pace to burn and is clearly willing to graft, but he's still getting to grips with the level. Johnny Kenny, meanwhile, seems destined for a loan move or even a permanent switch. He's not getting the minutes, and unless there's a massive turn in fortunes, he's not going to be part of the first team picture this season. Which brings us back to the idea of bringing in one more forward. It's not just about cover, it's about competition. Celtic are going to be playing in Europe, going deep in domestic competitions and managing injuries. You need 4 strikers, minimum. So while Yamada adds depth, it wouldn't be a shock to see another name come through the door, especially someone with a bit more physical presence or aerial threat. Now, if you want a striker who's proven in Scotland and knows the club inside out, then Odsonne Edouard ticks a lot of boxes. But again, let's not get carried away. This feels more like a rumor born out of someone connecting dots than anything genuinely concrete. Palace want to move him on Celtic have a need. Rodgers managed him before. Sure, it's a logical leap. But from everything we've heard internally, this isn't something the club are actively pursuing. And you'd have to ask, even if Edouard was keen, what kind of wages he's on now and whether Celtic are willing to meet anything close to that. Realistically, that kind of deal only happens if Edouard takes a massive pay cut and actively pushes for the return. And as nice as the idea is for nostalgia, football doesn't really work like that anymore. Back on the left-back hunt, Flavio Nazinho remains one of the more credible links of the window. Cercle Brugge seem resigned to losing him, and the noise coming from Belgium suggests talks are at least underway. He's got all the attributes you want. Young, attacking, composed under pressure, and used to playing in a system that requires fullbacks to push forward. For a squad that's likely to rotate heavily down the flanks, especially with Tierney's injury history, Nazinho makes a lot of sense. And if you're planning for the long term, he could be the heir apparent should Kieran eventually move on, or need extended time out again. We've seen this before with Celtic, buying players who might not be first choice from day one, but who develop into key pieces. Think Juranovic, think Van Dijk back in the day. Players who arrived with some pedigree but weren't household names yet. That's the model the club wants to get back to. Sign smart, coach well, and sell high if needed. Of course, the squad rebuild isn't just about new faces. It's also about managing the lads who are already here. There's been whispers around a few players potentially heading out. Liam Scales, for instance, has had interest from down south, and while he's been solid for us, he might see more consistent game time elsewhere. Same goes for David Turnbull, who's entering the last year of his deal and hasn't exactly nailed down a regular spot. Rodgers has said he wants a leaner squad this year, quality over quantity, so we could see a few more departures before the window shuts. And don't forget about the younger boys coming through. Daniel Kelly's one to watch. Been rated highly for a while now, and this could be the season he finally gets real minutes. Rodgers has never been shy about using youth when they're good enough, and if the depth chart starts to thin out in midfield, Kelly might just find himself on the bench, or even the pitch, more often than expected. Rocco Vada's another, although his contract situation remains a bit messy. There's talent there, no doubt, but whether he stays or goes is still up in the air. What's clear, though, is that the foundation's being laid properly this time around. Last summer felt rushed in places. The signings didn't always make sense, and the squad looked bloated in certain areas and threadbare in others. This time, Rodgers and the board are trying to be more surgical, bringing in players who fit the system, who complement what's already here, and who can grow into bigger roles over time. It's not flashy, but it's what Celtic need if we're serious about progress. Looking ahead, there's a big test coming midweek against Sporting. That'll be the sharpest friendly yet, and a proper barometer for where the team is physically. And tactically, Sporting aren't mugs. They'll press us play quickly and force the defense to stay switched on. It'll also be interesting to see who starts, especially in midfield. Will Bernardo get a run in his hometown again? Will Hatate be back to full sharpness? Is home gonna stake his claim? These are the kinds of games that show you who's ready and who needs more time. And while the focus is obviously on the here and now, there's always that forward-looking eye at Celtic Park. The Champions League qualifiers are looming, the league opener isn't far off. The fixture congestion will come thick and fast, and this is when having a coherent plan matters most. Last year, we struggled in Europe because we didn't have the right balance in the squad. This year, the hope is that lessons have been learned. So far, things look promising. The mood in the camp seems strong, the returning players are settling back in, and the new additions look like they'll raise the level. There's still work to be done. No one's pretending otherwise, but the pieces are falling into place. Now all that's left is to see how it translates when the real stuff begins. But if you're asking me, this squad's shaping up nicely, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's still one or two surprises to come before the window slams shut. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Edinburgh's favorite son might be heading west, if the latest whispers are to be believed. Word on the terraces is that Lawrence Shankland, Hearts' talismanic striker and goal-getter supreme, could be swapping the maroon of Tynecastle for the green and white hoops of Celtic. While no official bid's been confirmed, murmurs have been growing louder, with some claiming the Parkhead clubs already made discreet inquiries. Shankland, who bagged over 20 goals last season and captained Hearts with a fire that's made him a fan favorite, has been one of the Premiership's standout performers. His sharp finishing, composure under pressure, and leadership qualities are no gone unnoticed, least of all by Celtic, who might be looking to bolster their forward line amid talks of possible exits in their current strike force. Insiders close. Tay the player suggests Shankland's open Tay the move if the right terms come along. While he's never hidden his love for Hearts, the lure of Champions League nights and a tilted silverware with Celtic could prove too tempting. It's also been said that Brendan Rodgers is a long-time admirer of the striker's intelligent movement and eye for goal, seeing him as a potential perfect fit for his attacking system. Still, there's no shortage of complications. Hearts are no keen to lose their star man, and with 2 years left on his contract, they'll surely demand top dollar. Some sources believe any deal would need to be upwards of $4 million, a fee that might give Celtic pause, especially if they're exploring options south of the border or abroad. That said, don't be surprised if this one gathers steam in the coming days. With the transfer window wide open and Celtic known for late window moves, Shankland Tay Parkhead might just shift from rumor to reality. For now, it's just chatter, but in Scottish football, where there's smoke, there's often fire. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.